Aloha, everyone, and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started shortly, so go ahead, kick back, relax, and we'll get started soon. Hello, everyone. If you're just joining us, we are going to go ahead and get started shortly, so go ahead and kick back, relax, and we'll get started soon. Aloha, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for taking time out of either your afternoon, your morning, or your evening, depending on what time zone you are joining us from. Just so we can all get to know you all a little bit better, go ahead and put into the chat your name and where you are tuning in from. We'd love to kind of see where you guys are from. If there's anything in particular that you are interested in learning, or if there's a particular major you're interested in, definitely let us know in that chat. So just a few reminders as you guys are going ahead and putting, your information here in the chat so we can get to know you all. Just a reminder, this video today is webinar style, so you all can see us. However, we all cannot see you. In the Q&A, you guys are definitely welcome and encouraged to put any questions you guys may have throughout the session. And then if you see somebody who puts down a question that you're like, oh yeah, I have the same question, go ahead and use the upvote to go ahead and upvote it. And then at the very end of the session, we'll go ahead and go into a Q&A part where those questions who have been upvoted the most will be answered first. As a reminder as well, this presentation today is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel later on. So I'll go ahead and put a link to our YouTube channel into the chat so you guys can definitely refer to that as well. And then also, if you guys have not already, I encourage you guys to follow us on social media. That is definitely the best way to get the most up-to-date information about what's going on for the fall 2022 application, especially when it launches, which we'll give you more information about in a little bit. And then we also encourage you guys to fill out our request information card, which we'll go ahead and put the link into the chat as well. So definitely be sure to let us know, if you have questions throughout, we'll be happy to answer your questions. Just to formally introduce ourselves, my name is Amber Owens. I'm one of the admissions counselors here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'm originally from California, and I've now lived here in Hawaii for about 4 years. So if you have questions about that transition, definitely let me know.
Hi guys, my name is Jose Magno. I'm also one of the admissions counselors, proud graduate of UH Manoa. Been with the office for a number of years, so definitely excited to connect with you guys. If you have any questions about just the island of Oahu or just the state of Hawaii as well, I've been here my entire life, so definitely can answer those questions in addition to stuff about the school.
Folks, my name is Justin, also a proud graduate of UH Manoa, similar to Jose, born and raised in Hawaii. Glad that you all can attend with us today, and hopefully some information throughout this webinar can help answer some of those questions that you might have about not only the university, but the Hawaii lifestyle as well. Nice to meet you all.
Perfect, wonderful. So kind of just go ahead, we'll show you guys a little bit more since I see that a lot of our students attending here today are from out of state. So kind of just giving you guys a quick overview, where is UH Manoa? So we are located on the island of Oahu. We're about a half mile from Waikiki, about 3 miles from downtown Honolulu. So if you all are wondering, okay, Manoa, is it more rural? Is it more, in state, like, is it more like city-like? It is definitely best combination. It's in a small suburban neighborhood called Manoa, but it's right outside of the city, so you get the best of both worlds. As far as our student population goes, we have just over 18,000 students here at Manoa. We have about 66% of our students do come from locally here in state, with over 100 different countries represented from all across the world. We are considered to be the 6th most diverse campus in the US, with approximately a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you guys will definitely receive some classes that may be a little bit larger, while some classes may get a little bit smaller as you go into your upper division courses. So you'll definitely get the best of both worlds, but as far as it's technically not a large size campus where you kind of just feel like a fish in the sea, but the campus is also not too small where you can walk around and be able to name every single person you see around you. Our campus is just over 300 acres, so walking from one end of the campus to the other only takes about 15 minutes. The campus itself has over 100 different majors. We don't really have impacted majors with the exception of nursing and dental hygiene that do require an additional application than just the initial application itself. So if you're interested in nursing or dental hygiene, just keep in mind that there are extra requirements for that. But everything else, there's no really, you don't have to worry too much about impacted. I know that's a big question for students coming from out of state. We have any majors similar to like animal science. We have political science. We have public health. We've got you covered in 27 second language degree programs. I know we are definitely known for anything STEM related, so that's science, technology, engineering, and math, and of course, marine biology. We are surrounded by, naturally, an entire body of water, so we offer a lot of different unique opportunities for students interested in that. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Jose. He's going to talk to you all a little bit more about our student life here on campus.
Awesome, members. So like other universities, there's a lot of ways that you can really make your Manoa experience with us. Just some highlighted parts of the Warrior Way. We have over 370 clubs and organizations on the UH Manoa campus. We call them registered independent organizations. So everything from academic-based clubs, honor societies, fraternities, sororities, something for every major, something for every interest. We have some pretty unique clubs on campus as well that you can get involved with. If you get 6 other friends together, you can even start your own club if you can't find something that is already on the UH Manoa campus. We have the Warrior Recreation Center, which is our student gym. It's been around for about 6 years right next to Campus Center, which is a central hub for our students. There's over 120 pieces of cardio equipment, convertible courts for volleyball and basketball. We have indoor track, rock climbing walls. We also have a bunch of different classes like spinning classes, a TRX room. So definitely a really great facility that's been a great upgrade for student life. We offer intramural sports and leisure center every fall and semester. So everything from flag football, futsal, inner tube water polo, volleyball, basketball, and a leisure center that offers our students the opportunity to rent out equipment like stand-up paddle boards, do surf lessons, hiking trips. So we have some pretty great extracurricular activities and an office dedicated just for that. We also have Kennedy Theater right on East-West Road, which is our theater. We have roughly about 30 student-run productions every year. And we have a really global focus to theater. So we're primarily known for Asian theater. So we have Japanese kabuki, we have Korean drumming. So we have a lot of different practitioners from different countries that come, and they actually teach our students different theater techniques from parts of the world. Kaleo o Hawai'i, which is our student newspaper, is nationally ranked. It's a top 10 publication. So if you're going into communications, you're going into English, you're going to news writing, public relations, you can definitely get some reps in as a college student, get your yourself some experience while on the UH Manoa campus. Hopefully that experience will land you some pretty good, give you some really good career options. And then lastly, the Manoa Career Center. It's our main career center and internship office for all students across the board. We do have an internship and career fair, which is offered every fall and spring, where we have hundreds of different employees and employers and companies come to recruit our students. So hand in hand with your academics, it's important for you to really get involved. And there's a lot of ways for you to do that on the UH Manoa campus. We are a Division I athletic school. So we have 12 women's sports and 7 men's sports and 2 co-ed sports on the UH Manoa campus, which are listed there. So everything for men's sports include baseball, volleyball, golf, swimming and diving. And then women's sports, you have basketball, beach volleyball, cross country, tennis, track and field, and so forth. Hand in hand with athletics, we also have a really great band program. So we have wind ensemble, symphonic band, concert band, orchestra that you can get involved with. For Division I, we don't have nationally based sports teams out of Hawaii. So University of Hawaii Athletics is actually what our community comes and supports. And it's a big part of your student experience. So with your student ID, everything is actually free. You just show up on game day, you can show your student ID, you can attend any of our events that are on lower campus. For the next couple of seasons, pretty fun change for football. We're actually hosting all home-based football games on campus at the TC Ching Athletic Complex. So before we used to host our football games at Aloha Stadium, which is about a 30-minute bus ride from campus, but for the next couple of seasons, it's going to be right on campus. So there's definitely going to be a lot more excitement for athletics. Just a side note, we are actually known for, we have really great sports teams, but we actually are well known for our volleyball program. Our men's volleyball team won the national championship this past season. So we are the current national champions for men's volleyball, and that has not happened since the early 90s. So we're very proud of our men's volleyball team, but across the board, really great athletics. And if you're trying to get recruited, you can just go to the main athletic website and you can contact the coaching staff directly in terms of eligibility and how to get your tapes and so forth over to the coaching staff. In addition to just different types of activities on campus, you can really make the most of your Manoa experience through study abroad. So we have 2 main study abroad programs that are internationally based, the Manoa Study Abroad Center and the International Exchange Program, the Manoa International Exchange Program. So comprehensively, we partner with about 160 universities throughout the world. Some of the more popular locations, you're looking at Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, France, Germany, Spain, Switzerland, Ireland, Denmark, Netherlands, Argentina, to name a few. But there's other, you can really literally do a self-design anywhere in the world if there's a university there. Even smaller locations like Moorea and Tahiti, you can go to the Faroe Islands, Iceland. So really some great unique opportunities for you as a student. The only requirement for study abroad, you need to be a sophomore, have a 3.0 college GPA. And you have to be a sophomore standing. So second semester of your freshman year, you can already start applying for study abroad, and you can go anytime from sophomore year till the time till graduation. It's open to all majors. You don't have to speak that specific language. If you just want to actually explore a certain part of the world, that's how most students choose their study abroad. But we do have unique partnership programs with other universities depending on major. So we have partnerships for public health in Ireland, for example, travel industry management. There's a partnership with Cambridge University in England. So there's those options if you want to go more in depth within your major as well. Okay. In addition to that, we also have another program which is domestic abroad called the National Student Exchange Program. We actually partner with about 200 universities throughout the US territories and schools in Canada. So if international is too far for you, you can also do domestic abroad and stay a little bit closer, but you can explore other universities as well. So student housing, on lower campus, you'll find our student housing complex. Although it's not required for you to live on campus as an incoming freshman, we highly encourage you to take advantage of that to help with your transition from the high school to the college setting, from your home state to the state of Hawaii. Your freshman year, you'll most likely be placed in the 4 towers at the bottom of this photo called the Hawai'i Aloha Complex. And after that, you can move into our student suite lockoffs or apartments. Living on campus, especially freshman year, is a lot of fun. It's a great way for you to build community. And everybody that's a freshman on campus is in the same boat. So naturally, a lot of our freshman year, that's when you'll make the biggest friend group and the biggest social network. And there's a bunch of activities that they plan. So it's really great. It's based on double occupancy. So you have one other roommate in your room. And I believe there are, I think 16 rooms on each floor of the tower. It is co-ed, but there's separate facilities for each gender. You just have to apply by May 1st of your senior year. So May 1st, a couple months before you start with us at UH Manoa to ensure that you get housing as an incoming freshman. And then the overall cost does include your meal plan. So roughly a good estimate would be about 12 to 13,000 per year. That includes your food, and Justin will actually cover that estimate towards the end of the presentation. Transportation. So as Amber mentioned, our university is over 300 acres. So it's really spread out. There's a lot of walking. And luckily the weather's pretty nice year round. So if you do walk between classes, it's a nice environment for that. So the main ways to get around campus obviously is walking. We do have the Rainbow Shuttle, so you have 8 routes. 4 routes stay primarily on campus, which goes from student housing onto upper campus. And then 4 other routes, which goes into the neighboring areas around campus. So you're looking at Mo'iliili, Makiki, Manoa, and Kaimuki. As pictured here, mopeds are also a really popular option for students to get around. Super cheap, you just gotta get a yearly moped pass. And I believe if you are gonna load gas in your moped, it's usually about $20 to $30 per month, which is actually not bad. So mopeds are really, really popular ways to get around. And then lastly, the bus. So the city bus system is a part of your University of Hawaii ID. So when you actually validate your student ID, that becomes a bus pass. And you can use the bus system literally from campus, and you can go anywhere on the island. If you are going to go to the North Shore, it is going to take almost 3 hours, which might be a fun adventure for the day. But within respect to just everything in campus, around our campus from Waikiki to Kaka'ako, downtown Honolulu, it's going to be about a 15-minute bus ride. Once again, it is part of your student fees, and your bus pass is attached to your student ID. Most important part of your college experience is food. Food is a big part of local culture in Hawaii, and there's a lot of options for you as a student on the UH Manoa campus. Everything from Vietnamese, French fusion restaurants to vegan options. There's just a list of some of the options that we do have on campus. So we have 2 main cafeterias. We have the Hale Aloha, actually 2 main cafeterias on campus. We have the Campus Center Cafeteria and Paradise Palms. So you'll find a burger joint, you'll find like a Korean barbecue plate lunch place, you'll find a salad bar, you'll find also like Dunkin' Donuts, Panda Express, Indian plate lunch place, Domino's Pizza. So there's a lot of options in terms of upper campus. And then within student housing, we have 2 main cafeterias as well, the Gateway Cafeteria and the Hale Aloha Complex Cafeteria. And if you eat all of your meals in student housing, it's all buffet style. So there's tons of different options for you. If you have any dietary restrictions, we actually have dietitian on campus that's in charge of food services, so we can provide some options for you. There's always vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free options within all of our eateries as well. So something for every palate and every diet. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Now we're going to talk about some of the information if in case you're interested in applying to the university. This slide basically depicts some of our most important deadlines coming up. If you are a current, if you will be a current senior this upcoming year, just to keep in mind that if you are going to apply for the 2022 year, applications are typically available on our website come early to mid-September, and the priority deadline is going to be January 5th. Keep in mind also February 1st is our FAFSA or financial aid priority application deadline. So if you're looking at some federal monies along the ways in terms of grants, loans, some scholarships, February 1st is the date to look at. Our absolute latest final application deadline for the Office of Admissions is going to be March 1st. Okay, so if you are maybe a little bit undecided, just keep in mind March 1st will be the final deadline to apply. However, we do always encourage students to apply before the priority deadline, as the reason why is because if you apply by that particular date, you will have access to apply for different scholarships, student housing, you have different student services, financial aid that you'll have access to, as opposed to if you applied late. And then keep in mind also that if you have been accepted and you're kind of weighing out your options at that time on where to go, May 1st will be your intent to enroll deadline. On the next slide here, we're going to talk about some of our admissions requirements. If you're wondering what GPA we require, if we require SAT or ACT, all of this information will be discussed on this particular slide. So we like to make things very simple at the university. So if you're applying for an undergraduate degree, we basically require 3 different components. The first of which is passing high school. You have to take all the appropriate classes. That is required for your high school graduation. Things like 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, and electives as well. If your high school keeps track of class rank, we do ask that students be in the top 40% of the graduation class. If your high school does not keep track of class rank, you don't have to worry about that at all, as you will not be penalized for that. The next of which we do ask for a competitive GPA. And what we mean by competitive GPA is, generally speaking, our average GPA of all accepted students is approximately about a 3.54. However, if you have anywhere between a 3.3 and above, generally speaking, you have a pretty good chance of being accepted by the admissions committee. If you have anywhere between a weighted GPA of a 2.8 to a 3.3, that's when we tell students you're more than welcome and highly encouraged to turn in a personal statement or letters of recommendation, as both of those documents are optional. And last but not least, if you have below a 2.8 GPA, that's when I normally encourage students, you might want to consider starting off at a community college first and then transferring over after your first year of full-time enrollment there. And as mentioned earlier, supplemental documents that you might want to turn in are things like letters of recommendation, personal statements, a list of your, your academic and personal accomplishments. You're more than welcome to include all of those. Those are definitely not required, but always encouraged amongst applicants. And for the upcoming year, for our 2022 to 2023 applicants, both SAT and ACT tests are optional. So if you are unable to take the tests or you really don't want to take the test, we can definitely evaluate your application without either of those scores. As far as transfer admissions requirements goes, if you are currently attending a community college or even another 4-year institution right now, and you're looking at transferring to the University of Hawaii at Manoa, our requirements are fairly simple. We just require 24 or more semester credits, transferable semester credits, which is equivalent to about a 1 year's worth of full-time enrollment at your institution. And our minimum GPA would be at least a 2.5 GPA. So that's, what is that, a C average-ish, something like that. So 2.5 minimum GPA. and you're basically good to go with those 24 or more transferable credits. So those are your only requirements as a transfer applicant. On this slide right here, we're going to talk about some of the costs that goes into attending the university. And if you wanted to, you're more than welcome to scan that QR code that you see in the screen in front of you, and that'll take you directly to our costs and financial aid website. But basically, University of Hawaii at Manoa, we are a state institution, so we do separate our costs dependent on if you are a Hawaii state resident, a WUI state resident, which stands for Western Undergraduate Exchange, or a non-resident. For instance, if you're coming from an international country or from the East Coast, you would be considered a non-resident. So going into the costs of tuition and university fees, keep in mind that both of those two line items are going to be set. So those are not flexible. Both university and tuition, both university fees and tuition are set. Everything else on this page is flexible. So for instance, books and supplies, room and board, and personal expenses, those will all change from student to student. So for instance, if you're required to live on campus, we estimate everything on the highest end to be around 13,600 or so. But keep in mind, that's going to be the option if you wanted to live completely by yourself with the largest meal plan available. If you're willing to live with one other roommate, especially if you are an incoming freshman where you are required to live with another roommate, that cost will be dropped down to around 8,500. And personal expenses, those are going to be estimated once again on the higher end. That's going to be the options of if you require the latest iPhone every year, or if you buy all your clothes from Nordstrom instead of Nordstrom Rack, or if you require flying back to the States, 3 to 5 times a year, that's going to be on the more hefty, on the higher end. On the next slide right here, we're going to talk about some of the ways to cut down on costs. First of which is WUI. So if you are from an eligible Western state, essentially a state west of the Rockies, you are automatically eligible for the Western Undergraduate Exchange tuition rate. For us here at the university, this tuition rate is open to all 100 undergraduate majors at the university. There is no separate application to be eligible for this, and this does apply to freshmen and transfer students. Something to also take note is that to be eligible for this tuition rate, you do not have to turn in SATs or ACTs either. Next of which is some of the scholarships offered to students. Please scan this QR code or take a screenshot of this QR code on the screen in front of you, and that should take you to a link that showcases some of the university's most prominent scholarships. And over here on this screen, it shows some of the more important deadlines. New Warrior scholarships are going to be due January 15th. STAR scholarship database is February 15th, and UH Systems scholarship database is March 1st. I always tell students, if you have the time right now, especially because it's summer for a lot of us here, if you have an hour or 2 or 5 just to kind of start preparing like your personal statements and gathering your letters of recommendation, those will always come in handy when you're applying for scholarships. Okay, so normally scholarships are a free application, and let's say you take an hour or 2 to complete a scholarship application and you get maybe $5,000 to $7,000 back. You made basically a decent amount of money for that hour or 2 of work. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I don't make that kind of money per hour. So if you have the opportunity now, plan ahead of time and definitely prepare for scholarship applications. Those are free monies that you will rarely have to ever pay back to the university. Okay, on this slide, okay, I'm gonna hand it over to Amber now, and she's gonna, I guess, talk about some more important notes before we jump into the Q&A.
Yeah, so just a few reminders that if you guys are wanting to watch the recording of this, it will be on our YouTube page afterwards. Of course, if you guys have any questions, follow-up questions as well, you'll see our different contact information on there. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and back the presentation up just a bit to take us back to this main screen. So we'll go ahead and kick off with the Q&A. So Justin, do you mind taking the first question from Sophie?
Okay, sorry, I had my mic on mute. Sophie's asking, how does it work if you are living internationally but are US citizens? So if you are a US citizen, you would apply normally to the university, much like if you were living here or in another country. It's the same application. Yeah, same things. If you are attending an IB institution or anything like that, we do accept students from IB schools, or if you are taking a curriculum, an academic curriculum from that particular country, we'll basically convert those grades and those merits to a 4.0 GPA and still accept you depending on what kind of grades you're getting from that school. Hopefully that helps.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to the question from David in regards to ecotourism.
Okay, David. So the question is, I'm interested in ecotourism. I've heard that is part of the business school. Do I need to apply to the business school as a part of my application? So, David, there's a focus for travel industry management under the Shadler College of Business. So if you actually indicate that as your major, that will be the program that you'll be placed in as a UH Manoa student. And within the travel industry management school, ecotourism is a focus that you can go into. You can go into hotel management and lodging. You can go into transportation, or you can go into ecotourism. So the unique thing about that program is to graduate with your degree, you actually have to do two 400-hour internships. So you have to do 800 hours of internship. So you have the opportunity to do internships at various ecotourism related, I guess, businesses if you choose, and you can get some exposure to that. So once again, just make sure to indicate travel industry management on your application and you'll be placed into the program.
I see a question from Evelyn asking about, are the dorm showers and bathrooms separate genders? So the way it works, at least in the Holiday Aloha Towers, is going to be when you, there's I believe it's 4 shared bathrooms per floor, where basically when you enter the bathroom itself, it's kind of like your own private room for that time period. Where basically you can shut the door and then you have your toilet, you have your shower stall, and it's basically, that's your private space for the time being. So technically speaking, they aren't separated genders, they are shared just because it's to each their own when you're in there. So it's pretty nice that you have that opportunity versus I know some schools, you have like the shower stalls and you gotta get to know people a little too well in the morning when you're brushing your teeth and such. So you definitely don't have to worry about that here, at least with our freshman towers. And Justin, you're going ahead and taking the next question from Sophie.
Yeah, the next question is, do majors have their own GPA requirements and where can I find them? So for majority of our majors, if not all of them, basically as long as you meet the university's minimum requirements, which is that 2.8 or higher, or having a competitive GPA of 3.3 or higher, you have a good chance of getting into the university and getting into that particular major. Just something to take note of is one particular major is nursing. It is our most competitive major at the university. For that particular major, most students who are trying to get into direct entry into nursing, we do also encourage them to aim for maybe 3.9 to 4.0 to make yourself competitive. But all the other majors, as long as you will get into the university and meet our admission standards, you should be good to go.
I'm going to go ahead and pass off the next question from Evelyn to you about being a marine biology major.
Okay, for a marine biology major, is there a class time spent on Coconut Island? So it really depends on what courses you sign up for. There are a couple courses where you actually take field trips and do field work at Coconut Island. So there's like a ocean surveying class, there's like a coral labs class that you can take. It really depends. But if you do want to do research at Coconut Island, I suggest that you get involved in our certificate program called the Marine Option Program. And usually a lot of the internship opportunities for the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology, Coconut Island, are going to be through the Marine Option Program.
Now, speaking of internship opportunities, Justin, do you mind elaborating on more different internship opportunities that UH Manoa has to offer?
Yeah, so different internships are obviously going to be at different places depending on what your major is. We normally tell students you have 2 important resources to go to if you're seeking out different internships, whether paid or unpaid. The first important resources is to always go to your academic advisor. They can talk to you about things that you're looking for, internships that align with your career goals or your educational goals, and they'll help you out from there. And then the second resource to go into, as Jose mentioned earlier, is called our Manoa Career Center. They're located in our Student Services building on the second floor. So if you wanted to pop your head into there and talk about different internships with them, they can also help you out with that. In addition to that office, they do help you out with like resume writing, internship practicing, interview practicing, and even cover letter composing. So they can help you out with those types of topics as well.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back. I know we had typed the answer for some questions, so I just want to make sure everyone who is not here live with us today will still get the same answer. There's the SAT requirement, so I'll go ahead and take this one. I know Justin mentioned it earlier when reviewing it, and I know that's a big question for a lot of students. I know at least with some students from the West Coast, they were about to offer the SAT in June, and then they canceled it again, and now you're kind of like, this has been an ongoing thing, you know, for 15 months of trying to take it, not being able to. So my, at least personal opinion is when it comes to SAT requirements, if you're a student that is doing well, has over 3.5 GPA, you know, you obviously have plenty of involvement in high school to a degree of as much as you can, technically speaking, you know, during COVID period. But if you're doing really well academically, there's really no reason to take the SATs. The way that the SATs or the ACTs could come in handy is say if you do have a little bit of a lower GPA and you're kind of like, okay, I wasn't really involved in high school. I don't really have any teachers that I can reach out to for letters of recommendation, and I really don't feel like writing an essay. If you know you're a really good test taker, that could be a great option. Basically, we weigh it as a supplemental document, is at least my personal best way to explain it. So definitely do not stress about it for those who are current seniors, but just know that it is an option if you're looking to boost your application more depending on your GPA and such. So another question that was asked earlier on is kind of about the WUI. So Justin, do you mind just, I know you already went over it and I'll go ahead and go back to that slide, but do you mind just touching bases on the WUI program once again? Because I know a lot of students get it confused if it is a scholarship program or is it a tuition discount? Is it guaranteed? How does all of that work?
Okay, so for us here at the university, our WUI program is called the Western Undergraduate Exchange Tuition Rate. If you are a resident of any state west of the Rockies, for instance, California, Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, you are automatically allowed to pay 150% of the in-state tuition rate. And in order to qualify for this, you just need to indicate your residency of that particular state on the application, and be accepted by the admissions committee. That's basically it. There is no separate application for this program, and it is available for freshmen and transfer students. We did have a question earlier, was if a student, if they're admitted and they're taking advantage of the WUI program, are they able to still establish themselves to get the in-state tuition rate? So the short answer is no. Unfortunately, if you are admitted and you're taking advantage of this WUI program, you cannot get in-state tuition. You would still be paying that WUI tuition rate. But if you, with all things considered, our out-of-state tuition cost is around $33,000 a year. So just by being a resident of certain states, that's already chopped down to around $17,000 automatically. So on top of that, you can add on financial aid, you can add on additional scholarships, not only scholarships offered by the university, but scholarships from outside organizations too, to also lessen that cost of attendance. So hopefully that answers some of those questions.
Yeah, and then one of the questions too was asking about, does UH offer part-time study or all majors full-time? So answering that, it's basically, yeah, you can do either or. It's completely up to you. Once you take 12 units, which is considered full-time, you consider you basically can take as many units up to like, I think like 19 or so, which we don't recommend going up even higher than that. That's tough. But after that point, it's going to be the same price regardless. But if you have less than 12 units, you're just going to go ahead and pay your tuition based per unit. Just keep in mind that for, I know, financial aid, you have to have a specific amount of units. So there's a lot of extra requirements to have for where you will want to be full-time, but say if you want to be part-time study, that's definitely a possibility. Now, Jose, I'm going to go ahead and pass this question off to you. Francisco asking about what kind of work study is available if there is any.
So when you apply for financial aid, you might receive your financial aid package, federal work study. And how federal work study is basically when you work on campus, rather than your pay going towards your pocket, it actually goes to pay for your college-related costs. So we do have a lot of federal work study options on campus. And that's how usually federal work study works is you work on campus and then that job will pay for your college-related costs. Other than that, we have tons of jobs on campus that you can apply for, even if you're not on federal work study. So there's some options for you.
All right, Jose, I'm going to give you this next one too, just because I know you're an expert at this. You like to go island hopping quite frequently. So what are the methods of travel between the islands, and is it affordable for students?
So the most probably the most realistic option is definitely just inter-island using Hawaiian Airlines or one of the other carriers that flies between the islands. Right now, on average price range, round trip is going to be about $160, depending. So the most economical and realistic way of getting between the islands is by plane. I mean, unless you know somebody with a fishing boat or you want to use an outrigger canoe, that's probably the only way you're going to get to the other islands. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, Jose, I know you definitely know of, especially our students that work in our office tend to go to the neighbor islands, specifically during, like, say, spring break or on a long weekend. You know, do you find that common among other students as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So as a UH Manoa student, especially if you're not from the islands, I would really take advantage of actually doing some island hopping. I like to tell all of our prospective students that we celebrate everything in Hawaii. So out of the 12 months of the year, there's only 1 month that does not have a 3-day weekend, which is October. But every month has at least 1 3-day weekend. So we have things like Kamehameha Day, Statehood Day, all these different holidays that you guys do not celebrate, we celebrate it. So you always have a 3-day weekend during the semester every month, and you can use those 3-day weekends to actually island hop. So every island has its own personality. You have Maui, which is the Valley Isle, Kauai, which is the Garden Isle, where they film a bunch of different movies. You have Lanai and Molokai, which are smaller islands, but they have just geographically different types of landscape that you can experience. And then obviously the big island of Hawaii, which is our youngest island. And that's where you'll find snow-capped mountains and the telescopes at Mauna Kea. You'll have the active volcanoes. So during your time at UH Manoa, I encourage you guys to explore all the possible islands when you can.
Now, passing it off to Justin, the question is, what is considered a classified versus unclassified status?
As far as classified versus unclassified, classified meaning that you have declared a specific major. So whether it be biology, education, engineering, travel industry management, that's going to be considered a classified student. If you are unclassified, that essentially means that you are undecided as a major. So maybe you're going into one of our exploratory majors. It basically just means that you're undecided right now and you're kind of weighing out your options between your majors. And if you are in that particular category, just select exploratory majors on your application. We do have specific advisors within that department to kind of help you figure things out along the way. You can dabble between different types of classes, especially your freshman year, to kind of figure out what piques your interest and what aligns with your career goals.
Okay. Now, I know, so students, if you guys have more questions, definitely feel free to keep putting it into the chat. There's no question too weird, we promise. We will not judge you whatsoever. But for Justin and Jose, what are some things that really stand out to you at the UH Manoa campus that, say if a student were to ask you, hey, why should I come to your campus? What would you guys recommend? I
don't know if Jose
can
wants
kick
to
it off if you
start.
want. I was like, I'll go first. I got you guys.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I was gonna say one of the things that I always loved sharing with students is just really the community. If they're wanting to get an education where they feel not only supported but welcomed and also be able to go study in such a beautiful location, definitely we offer that here. I think it's really the people itself plus all the different opportunities you can have here in Hawaii, both in school and out of school, are really unique to that.
I don't know if Jose wants me to go next or him to go next. I guess I'll just jump in. For me, I always tell students, it's like these next 4 years of your life, these next 4 undergraduate years, your college years, you'll never get these back, right? So I know that you folks all want to make a sound decision on where is the, provide you with the best education, where is the most financially responsible school to go to. But I also tell students, look at it from an experience side too, right? So go to a location, go to a university, not only that gives you a great education, will provide you with a one-of-a-kind experience for the next 4 years of life in general, right? So I know Amber, Jose, myself, like once you graduate, they can all attest to this, once you graduate from college, you will never have the opportunity to take even a month off just to go somewhere and just like hang out or experience life, right? So part of your decision making into choosing the right college is also figuring out, the location too, the environment. And as Jose mentioned earlier, like we have so many different islands in the state of Hawaii. Each island feels very unique from one to the next. And it's kind of like taking on your long weekends, except for October, as Jose had mentioned, take advantage of the long holidays and experience a different island because it truly feels like a different area in itself. So take that into consideration when you're making your college decisions too.
All right, Jose, what would you say?
Oh man, I think you guys pretty much answered it how I would answer. I probably say just a diversity quotient of it. I mean, I mentioned earlier, food is a big part of our culture and gatherings are a big part of our culture as well. And I think when you come here, there's a bigger focus on relationships and getting from point A to point B. And I had to recruit in Northern California for a couple of years, and it's definitely a lot slower here. And because a lot of things are slower, there's a bigger opportunity for you to really get to know people on a one-to-one, hang out at the beach. I mean, it slows down, and that opens up a lot of opportunities to really build relationships. And I think that's important. Culturally, you'll develop an extended family, and I don't think you'll find that kind of atmosphere anywhere else on a college campus. I think you'll notice if you haven't been here before, if you become friends with the local student, you get connected to all their friends from high school, and then you get connected to their friends and their parents. And if you stay on island during breaks, or you stay and you don't go back to your parents or back home for the holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, you always have a place to stay. And just an example, we had a student from California a couple of years ago. She only hung out with students from Maui, and she never went back home her last 3 years at UH, and she would go straight to Maui during breaks because one of her friends' parents had a room just for her. So, I mean, that's just one example of just these kind of stories. So there's definitely, as Amber mentioned, a really big sense of community. I think you won't find that anywhere else. Yeah.
I could not agree more. Now, I know we got another question on residency. So definitely, I'll go ahead and put the link in there for being able to, for the residency links again, and as well as speaking to a residency officer. I know each situation is extremely unique. But for those students who are coming from out of state, I know some students, even though not the non-WUI, the non-resident students, say from, the Midwest or East Coast, are like, oh, I'll just go to Oahu, I'll live there for, my first year, and then I'll get in-state tuition. So it's really important to note that you can't To receive in-state tuition, you cannot be a full-time student at the time to start receiving the in-state tuition. You have to be a true bona fide resident, which basically means you have to take, I believe it's like less than six units. So you have to be basically a part-time student or be working. And whoever claims you, if you're claimed under someone else's taxes as a dependent, that is going to be which state you are technically a resident of. So say if you are a student that's above the age of 18 or you're filing your own taxes, you decide to move to the island of Oahu, live here for a full calendar year, not school year, but a full calendar year, 365 days, where you are not a full-time student, you claim your own taxes, you claim the state of Hawaii, there's a lot of different steps. It's basically very complicated than just a simple answer. So I'll go ahead and put the links in the chat. So definitely if you guys have questions, whether in regards to your residency requirements and what you would qualify under, definitely be sure to fill out that residency inquiry form, and one of our residency officers will be in touch with you shortly after that. Okay, thanks, Justin. And then I know we had a question about campus tours, which I know we're very excited because we're actually kicking off our in-person campus tours again starting tomorrow. Yay! It has been a long 15 months, that is for sure. So our campus is now welcoming visitors once again. Please note that our campus tours are extremely limited. They're very small groups, just out of safety for both of our staff and of course those who are attending. So say if you know you're going to be visiting us, definitely check out that link that Justin posted. We'll go ahead and post that link again for the campus tour information. Go ahead and check out there for the availability and see what it's like. Even if we don't have campus tours available, say for the exact date you're going, you're always welcome to take a self-guided campus tour where you can stop into our admissions office, grab a map, and then they can show you the best routes and such. Right, as of right now, our campus tours are booked through the end of August, and September is not open just yet. So just keep that in mind that it may not show our full availability just yet for the fall, but just keep at least it'll give you an idea of what the times and such are like. Okay, if you guys have any questions.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something to add on to Amber's, I guess, notes on campus tours. If you folks are finding that you're not able to register for a specific date or a specific time of tour, you and your family are more than welcome to visit campus and participate in a self-guided tour. So on that same website, there should be like a publication or a brochure that you can download directly off the website. It includes a lot of information about campus, also information and maps of campus itself, where you and your family can just walk onto campus and just kind of browse around leisurely as you see fit. Okay, so that way you're not locked into a specific tour. You don't have to stay for an hour or an hour and a half. You come and go as you please and walk at your own pace. So that'll also give you a little bit of an understanding about what campus is like too, if in case you're not able to register for a official in-person tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And please note that masks are required on campus. Our rules in this, and it's a state mandated rule that you must pass the quarantine period either through providing your vaccine ahead of time or, going through the 10 days. If you have questions about that, of course, check the Safe Travels Hawaii website for when you visit the state. But if you are to visit campus, you will be required to wear a mask. And we do have an app as well that you will be required to check in, asking just your basic health questions, such as have you been exposed to anybody, the standard COVID questions that you've received when entering doctor's facilities and such as well. This is a great question, but Jose, I'm going to go ahead and pass off to you. So when are the applications open and what are the start dates? Is it just fall 2022 or is there an earlier start date?
So we do admissions twice a year for spring and fall admissions. For fall 2022, the application should be up sometime in September. So if you're going to be a senior this year, just keep a lookout for the application to be live sometime in September. If you are a senior this year, that is the earliest semester you can start is fall 2022. you're not able to start any earlier than that because you have to fully have graduated from high school to enroll with us. Okay, so I'm pretty sure there's no transfer students on this call. It's all incoming freshmen. So, okay, I guess I answered that too. How soon will we know if we got in? Basically, we like to say we're enrolling admissions. So basically, you should hear back if you apply early when the application is posted. You should hear back within 3 to 4 weeks. So try to apply before January 5th. Because the turnaround is a lot faster. If you do wait till after January 5th to apply, it's going to take about 10 weeks. So there's a big difference. So rule of thumb, just get your application in as soon as it's posted. Once you get admitted, that doesn't commit you to our school. You have from the time of admission until May 1st to deposit with us. So it's one less application for you to take care of. Just get it taken care of, get your decision, weigh your other options, and if you do decide to enroll with us, you just have to deposit with us by May 1st.
And then Burke is asking, is there a separate application for scholarships and where can I view scholarships that are offered? So Justin, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one off to you.
As far as scholarships goes, it's going to differ from scholarship to scholarship. We have some that is included within your admissions application. That one is going to be called the Manoa Academic Merit Scholarship. That one's going to be valued at $2,000 per year if you're from an out-of-state territory, or if it's going to be valued at $4,000 a year if you're from Hawaii state. So that one's going to be an automatic one. However, there are a variety of other scholarships that do require a separate application. So I think Amber just dropped it into the chat. So feel free to take a look there. Many of our scholarships, they're going to have different requirements, different deadlines, different everything. So highly look into it, highly encouraged, and just be aware of all the different details from each individual scholarship. And on the screen in front of you, those are basically a snapshot of the most important deadlines of some of the larger scholarships offered to students. So January 15th from New Warrior scholarships, STAR scholarships are going to be February 15th, and UH System scholarships is March 1st. So those are the big three in terms of deadlines.
And then Justin, if you could take a question from Sophie, because I know it's different now with the international, even though they're US citizens becoming from an international country.
Okay, Sophie's asking, I finished high school in November from Australia, so is that still the earliest? Sophie, you're more than welcome to either apply for spring 2022, that would be probably the earliest start date that you could apply for. And that application will be available later this August. Or if you wanted to wait a little bit and take like a gap semester and come for fall 2022, which begins in August of next year, then that application will be available in September. So it's kind of up to you on when you wanted to begin your enrollment. I've heard different stories and different situations from students from Australia or New Zealand, many of which do want to take like a gap semester, take advantage of spending time with family for that last several months before coming to Hawaii. Or I've seen students who want to start literally a month and a half after your high school graduation. So it would be up to you and your family to kind of weigh out those decisions, but we do have a fall and a spring semester. And once again, the application for the spring semester will come out in August, so in less than a month.
All right, everyone. Well, this wraps up our time. So thank you all so much for asking great questions. We'll hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Of course, you guys are welcome to connect with us via our phone line, appointments, emails, whatever works for you works for us. We hope you all have such a wonderful day. Aloha.